Brendan here from WP Speedfix. I have two things for you in this video. The first is a Cloudways coupon code. Use the coupon code FASTHOSTING and you'll get $25 credit on your account. So that's number one. So when to use this coupon, just go to cways.net and click the start free or get started free here. And it'll run you through the sign up process. So in the sign up process, there's a link here that says, got a promo code, click that and just enter fast hosting there, sign up for your account and you're away. So that'll add you $25 credit very easily, or very easy. So that address is cways.net. Now, the second thing I have for you in this video is our Cloudways configuration guide. So Cloudways out of the box is very, very fast, but there are some things you can do to tweak the configuration to make it even faster and squeeze more juice out of their servers, as their default configuration is good, but it can be made better. So I'll leave you with this video. It goes for 5 to 10 minutes, and there'll be a link in the description where there is a checklist with a bit more information and just you can walk through, because it is a little bit technical. So if you're not that technical, you might need the checklist just to make sure you've got everything set up correctly to squeeze the most speed you can out of your Cloudways server. Would love to hear your feedback, comments. If you have any questions, just post in the comments section. We'll come right back to you. Alrighty, let me talk you through how we configure our Cloudways server and WordPress setup. So I'll go backwards here. So I'll do the server first, but I'll start at the bottom here and move up to the top. So this is a US based server we have that's on Vulture. It's a fairly basic server, but this is how we configure it to get maybe 20 or 30% more juice out of it than we would otherwise if we were using the standard Cloudways config. Cloudways is fast out of the box, but certainly making these changes will squeeze more juice out of it. So SMTP, so you need to configure this. So Cloudways have a built-in option for, it's a product called Elastic Email. You need to turn it on here under add-ons and Elastic Email, and then just select Elastic Email from one of the options here. I don't have it turned on, so it's not there, but we use SendGrid and Mailgun just because they give us a bit more functionality, because we've got quite a lot of sites on these servers, so we get a bit better tracking in terms of email delivery. So that's SMTP, so you need to configure that. Otherwise, you need to use a plugin on each of the websites to get mail delivered. So just be mindful of that. With backups, we need to configure this. So we need to make sure we're keeping a local backup. Otherwise, it's only doing remote backups. We've had instances where it's been 24 to 48 hours before Cloudways can get those backups back. Particularly big ones, like if it's 50 gig of data, it's going to take a while to dig that up from a remote location. Whereas if the backup is local on the server, then it's right there. You do need more storage space, but it's accessible when you need it. You need to be mindful of these backups. The particular type of backup it's an entire site backup, so it's really hard to get an individual file or two out of it. We use BlogVault on all our websites, so we always have two backup plugins, generally because they'll work differently. So one might be better at backing up in one way, or it might be quicker at restoring in another way. And sometimes you'll have backups where there's gaps, so it might not be backing something up properly or not in the right interval or something like that. So we always aim to have two backup systems. We like BlogVault because it is a paid plugin, but it's really good. It's a cloud service. It tells us if it breaks. And the feature I really like about it is it specifically tells us what database tables and files it's not backing up, and allows us to enable backups for those. We've had instances before where we've gone to restore using things like VaultPress, and we found out it was only backing up the tables that start with WP, and none of our database tables started with WP. So issues like that you quite often don't come across till you go to do a restore. So that's why we always try to have two backup systems from now on, or all the time. Retention, we always want to try to keep 4 weeks of data. Obviously, it depends on the amount of space you have on the server, but we try and max out these settings here. Backup frequency, you can set this as low as an hour, which might be too much for some sites. If you have a WooCommerce site, or a site where lots of changes are happening all the time, then an hour might be a better option, but 3 hours is probably a good balance for this type of server. It's got sites all over the place, so quite often changes are happening in those sites on different intervals, like in the middle of the night Australian time, because this is a US based service. These sites are typically targeting international audience, so we've got that set at 3 hours, which works for this server. Some of these other options, security, let me see, I don't think we need to do anything there. Settings. Now we changed some of the default settings here. Probably the most important one is the SQL Server version. So by default, a lot of the installations come with SQL 5.5 or 5.6. Moving up from 5.5 to 5.6 will give you a performance boost of 10 to 20%. And then you'll get the same again moving from 5.7. So I would recommend using version 5.7 if you're running a fairly modern site. It'll go the fastest. So it'll squeeze, particularly for database heavy stuff. It'll be a lot faster. When you change the setting, just be mindful that the site will be offline for a few minutes while it's upgrading that version. So I wouldn't do that during peak times when the site or server is busy. PHP version, this has a lot of different sites on it, so we can only run 7.0, but you want to run the highest version that the sites support. 7.1 and 7.2 will be slightly faster than 7.0, maybe 10% or so faster. Redis caching, so Redis is a type of memory cache, and it will make stuff faster if we use it, but what we found is it crashes about half the sites that we've turned it on for. Whatever way their configuration is set up under high load, that Redis tends to have problems. I don't know if it's because we don't have high enough memory on these servers or their particular configuration, but we haven't had great success with it. So I wouldn't recommend using it. Basically, it'll hurt the reliability of the site. If you do use it, then I would suggest you have uptime monitoring so you're aware if the site goes offline. What else do we have? So advanced settings, max input vars. This is probably actually a bit low. It probably should be 3,500. Ideally, you want to be over 3,000 for this. But 2,500 is okay. They're fairly basic sites this server's running. This APC and op cache memory. These are 32 and 64 by default, so we just doubled them. And then down here, you want to set if you're using Cloudflare, you want to set Cloudflare as the web application firewall module. You want to make sure HTTP is turned on. Services, actually, let me just go back one. Yeah, okay, so services, let's see. We don't want to run New Relic. So New Relic is a performance optimization tool, like a monitoring tool. So we don't want to run that unless we need to. So sometimes that can be switched on. So we want to have it disabled. And then Varnish, we want to have disabled. We don't use Varnish at all. It just adds too much complexity for the type of sites that we have. We have a lot of caching going on already, and we're using Cloudflare on top of it. So Varnish in the mix just adds more complication and doesn't necessarily add any speed benefit. So we leave that disabled. So that's pretty much the server config. Let's switch across and look at the application config. There's only a few things to do here. So we add FTP login details. We add them here under the access details tab. Add your domains under the domain name section, so primary and secondary. Add SSL certificates. That's pretty straightforward. Application settings. You probably want to run this reset permissions after migrating the site. Sometimes the permissions can be a bit funny on some files, so you just want to have that. Just run that. It's quick to run it. Varnish, you want to turn it off. Here you can turn it on and off on a site-by-site basis. So you want to have that disabled if you're not planning on using it. So you can see here it's grayed out and it's disabled. So that's pretty much it for the site config. Let me run you through the plugin configuration. We use W3 Total Cache instead of their Breeze plugin because it's faster. It's a lot more complex, but it is much faster. So in the back end here are the settings we use by default. So we use disk caching, disk enhanced for page caching. We use APC for database caching, and we use memcache for object caching. So these are two different types of memory cache. So this will speed up database operations and usually speeds up stuff in the back end. We use APC and memcache because they're two different types of caches. You can use memcache for both of them. We find this combo works faster just for the type of sites we have. But the memory cache is one of the big advantages to Cloudways. So stuff that's database heavy is using memory caching, which speeds it up substantially. Without the memory caching, you can see here, this is a plugin called Query Monitor, and this is the database lookup time. So it's 0.0094 seconds. So without that cache in place, that could be as high as 1 second. So yeah, so this helps a lot, and it is one of the reasons why Cloudways is so much faster than other hosts. So that's pretty much it. That's our kind of our basic walkthrough of how we squeeze more juice out of our Cloudways servers, how we configure them for speed. Happy to answer any questions you have, go into more detail, whatever, explain some of the specifics around these. Yeah, just let me know. Cheers.